What is up, guys? It is Zach Plochet, and in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to set up VS Code in 2022. So I'm going to be showing you my best options, my best keyboard commands I use to work efficiently in VS Code. So the first thing I'm going to do is I already have VS Code installed on my computer, and immediately I'm going to go to VS Code, type it in here, and right click on it and uninstall, because I want to show you how to set it up from scratch, because there's a very important option, at least on Windows computers, in the installation process. So I'm going to go in here and find Microsoft Visual Studio Code, and we're going to uninstall this. Yes. So I have all of my best settings on here, and because I pretty much know all of them and I have it synced on Git, I can do this and there's no real issue. So that's getting uninstalled. Now I'm going to go to the VS Code website. We're going to go here, VS Code download. So if you're on Mac or Linux, or well, at least Mac, it's going to be roughly the same process. So yeah, it just uninstalled. So I'm going to install this for Windows. If you have Mac, of course, install it for Mac, and etc. for Linux. So I'm going to download this. Yep, so that's getting the download link. I'm going to click save here. VS Code user setup. That will open extremely quickly. And yeah, so let's find what that specific setting is. So this should be done right about 3, 2, 1, and boom. Opening when complete. Yes, please do. So once that's in here, and the reason I uninstalled it is because I've had to do this on a lot of students' computer, because this is an extremely convenient thing to do. So it's currently open. Yeah, go ahead and accept that agreement, save it to just the default one that pops up. We don't really need a start menu folder. Click next. Now, this part is important. So we're going to want to add open with code to the action, or yeah, the action to Windows Explorer file context menu, and open with code to the Windows Explorer directory context menu. So both of these, this icon is optional. All of this stuff is true. We're going to install this now. So once that is done, let's see. So that's going, almost, and done skis. All right, so let's open this, or it should open on its own, but let's see. Yeah. So now it's going to open up, and it does look like, so yeah, so whenever you delete it, it is still cached. So it has some of my extensions and whatnot on here already. Now, if you're watching this and you're a Python programmer, this will be even more beneficial for you, because I'm going to show you what you need, or some extensions that I use that help me out a lot. Same with front-end development. So we're actually going to start with extensions, because those are the easiest one to have at the beginning. So some extremely useful ones that I use. We'll start with, so Excel Viewer is a really useful one. This basically lets you look at CSV data as tabular data on your computer. There's going to be, and to show you an example, let's just make a new file here. Boom, my file.csv. I'm going to say name, address, age, and we'll make a new line, Zach 123 Street and 107. All right, so we have these. Let's use this extension of the Excel viewer. We're going to click this, and boom, now we can view this CSV data or an Excel file in our folder. We can't really do anything with it besides, okay, I guess we can filter. But yeah, essentially it allows you to view it directly in VS Code. Next, we're going to need, let's see. So live server is really useful if you're doing web development. It just makes it to where you have live updates on a basic HTML and CSS and JavaScript file. Live share is really useful if you're going to be having two people on your VS Code, or if you teach it like I do. Or if you're a student who's also learning this and you have VS Code and you're learning how to code, I use this with my students all the time, and it helps whenever we just want to be coding easier, when I can just access their VS Code from my VS Code, and yeah, we can all work faster there. So these two, if you're using Python, you're going to want to have the basic Python installation, or the Python extension. So you find that just by typing Python in this search box, and it's going to be the first one. You don't need, well, okay, yeah. So let's see, extension. Yeah, so it should be the first one here. Let's go back. Boom. You're going to want, let's see. So that might be everything. Oh, this VS Code PDF one is also extremely useful. And yeah, beyond that, that should pretty much be it. I have a few like some custom stuff here, so if you want to try these out, you can. So yeah, like To-Do Tree, Test Explorer, GitHub Copilot, which I'm still on the waiting list, so that's simply not here yet. Nice. And Vim is another useful one that I actually use, that I turned that off recently. So I'm going to turn that back on personally, but you do not have to. Now, that is a pretty simple setup, just as far as extensions go. So like, there's nothing too fancy that we've done so far. So let's now go to settings. To access your settings in VS Code, you're going to want to press Control and comma. So I'm going to press that now, and that's going to bring us to this page, to our settings. I'm going to click on this. You're going to want to click on this file up here that says Open Settings JSON. Now, if you don't know JSON, this can look pretty scary. Yeah, at first it is. Like, it's just, there's no real way around that. But once you learn JavaScript and you understand that that JSON is pretty much a Python dictionary, it becomes a lot less scary in that sense. There are a lot of settings here that I do recommend, because when you first install VS Code, it's going to have some defaults built in. So one of those, for example, is you might notice that there's this mini map on the side of your screen here, where if I turn this to true, the default build should look like this. So if I turn that back to true, if I enable the mini map, you're going to have this line, this not really useful mini map of your code. The reason it's not useful is because you can just scroll on your code and it's pretty much good enough. Also, your scroll bar on the side does show like whether you have errors in a certain spot, but you'll know where to go just based on this these like symbols or these colors behind it. So you'll notice like these two dots, that means something. Like in this case, it means it's showing me where these same letters are on my page. So it's like at this scroll, we can see these two, and so on and so forth, but we don't really need this one. So I'm going to turn this mini map back to false. Yeah, so one by one, there's a few ways to edit your code here. I'm not going to go through literally all of these. Let's see, format on paste. So this one, well, that one, okay, yeah. So pretty much I recommend using all of these just because they're a bit convenient. But I'll talk about the most important ones here. So multi-cursor modifier. Yeah, so this one's relatively useful. So if you're not using Vim like I am, and you want to select more than one line so you can type, like I'm gonna pause Vim again. So let's do this, disable. Sure, let's reload it. And once that comes back, so multi-cursor modifier, by default, you're able to take a file. Let's say I want to edit this one, and you're typically able to select multiple cursor locations, which, and by that I mean like this. So like normally you can type on one part like ASDF, like I just did there. Or if you hold down a certain button, by default, the default settings are with Alt. As you can see, I have more cursors here. And then whenever I type something, it types in every single location. hello, just like that. So that is a pretty cool thing. So yeah, that's one setting I like. Just this one makes it to where it uses command instead of alt. I prefer, sorry, control instead of alt. I prefer control instead of alt for this one. It's just something that I'm more used to. So these rulers, you might notice some programming languages have a specific number of characters in a single line that it recommends strongly, like Python, for example, which is a bit outdated, but it's understandable to a degree. So this one that says editor rulers, this controls these lines that I added on the side here. So you might notice these 3 lines. So there's one here, where my mouse is. So boop, right here. So this would represent 80 characters. So if I type in, I don't know, like a whole lot, once it gets to 80 characters here, this first line represents 80. So you can have more than one ruler, and that just shows you how many characters you have on a single line. And the general rule is like once it gets past this point, you probably need to either refactor or reformat your code. So if you've ever read the Clean Code book by, I believe it's Robert C. Martin, he says like after 120, it's a bit excessive. So like that's his rule is like 120, or that's what he can say is like pretty much fine. And 80 is, I guess, the default for Python, which not everyone agrees with. So I've kind of fallen that boat, but it's still a good practice in case you want to have that. Cursor blinking, I really don't like cursor blinking, so I just decided to make this one solid. So yeah, that one's optional. Line numbers, yeah, so this one is Vim specific. So you might notice my line numbers were a bit weird, so you don't really need that one. This one is the same thing. Let's see, anything else specifically important here? Okay, yeah, so on your window, you might notice at the top of my VS Code that there are some options missing. So that's what this does. It says window menu bar visibility toggle. So this makes it to where if I press Alt on my keyboard, so by default, it's going to hide these options of like file, edit, selection, view, go, run, terminal, and help. Yeah, I prefer to not have this here just because one, I saw it as an option, and two, I think it makes it look just slightly more like slightly less distracting without it there, because I know all of the keyboard shortcuts in order to do all of those things, or at least most of them. So yeah, this is another optional one. You don't really need this, but I do prefer to have this set to window menu bar visibility. And by the way, I've kind of forgot to mention, if you want these to work inside of your VS Code, you literally just write these same settings, the ones that are colored here, not the ones green, but the ones not green. And yeah, you can use these, and that's pretty useful. Let's see, security. Yeah, so VS Code recently added this annoying security pop-up that you might realize. It'll say something around the lines of, once you like, do you trust the authors of this directory or something like that? It's I don't know what the actual point here is, but I turned this off immediately after I saw this annoying pop-up, because why do I need that? So yeah, I just turned off that annoying pop-up like that. Confirm delete. Yeah, so this one on your files, it may ask you whether, like, you'll try to delete some file, and then there will be a pop-up that's like, are you sure you want to delete this? Same with dragging and dropping a file. So like if I wanted to take this proc file, for example, and dump it in my portfolio, for example, it would ask me whether or not I wanted to do that instead of just doing that, which I find annoying, or yeah, pretty much annoying. So I just decided to change that to false, and then you won't have those pop-ups anymore if you add these 2 settings, Explorer confirm delete and Explorer confirm drag and drop in your settings. Terminal settings, let's see, integrated default Windows profile. Yeah, so this is one thing. You can access your terminal in VS Code if you press Control and backtick. Backtick is, so essentially a backtick is this symbol. I'll just type it on a new line so you can see. It's kind of like these like quotes, but not exactly. And it's right next to the tilde, which is this symbol. Have you ever seen this one? It's right next to this one. And I believe, let's see. Yeah, boom. Yeah, so essentially, if you press Control and backtick at the same time, that's an easy way to bring up your terminal. The other way of doing this, of course, is by pressing, or not by pressing, but by going up to your menu up here and pressing terminal, new terminal like this. And by default on Windows computers, this actually opens up in PowerShell, which I don't like PowerShell. I don't think it's superior to command prompts really. And yeah, they changed some of the commands slightly, so it's a bit annoying. So on all of my students' computers, I always use command prompt and on mine as well. And normally it helps you a lot because it's a lot more close to terminal on Mac and Linux. So, or like the bash commands. So yeah, it's a lot closer in my opinion. So let's see. That's one thing. Integrated tabs. This one is useful, and it's more just like a matter of layout. So like if I change this to true, let's see, and I close this guy. Let's try that again, and boom. Oh wait, click here. Yeah, so basically with this one, terminal integrated tabs enabled. If you don't have this on, it changes the layout slightly over here, and it's just a matter of preference. Like I just prefer this to be on false, so that way, like I can pick through my tabs on this side, and it doesn't take up any vertical space here. So that's something cool. And also here, no, not that one. Let's see. Yeah, so there is another option if you, oops. Okay, not there, I suppose. If you right click on the bar above like your terminal, there is an option for you to move this panel either to the right or left. So this terminal panel, as you can see right now, it starts at the bottom, which I always use it here. But optionally, you can throw it to the right, and yeah, it'll still be pretty useful here. So that's just a matter of preference. Then if you want to change it back, you right click not on the terminal itself, but the bar above it with this plus icon and the trash can. Yeah, so I'll just put this back to the bottom, move panel bottom. And now we're back here. So that's not really a setting in the settings. That's just one down in terminal. Emit, this stuff we don't really need specifically. That's a bunch of Python stuff. Anything exclusively here. Yes, so sometimes when you're formatting your code in Python, which well, okay, yeah, so that one's not really useful unless like you're really into Python, but essentially there's a way to auto format your code in VS Code if you press Shift, Alt, and F, and that will automatically format your code. And there is a way to set it to where like normally if you have a line that's too long, like more than 80 lines, like I was talking about slightly earlier, essentially your code will start to like wrap, and it might look not the most pretty, and it might just be easier if your code was just 20 to 40 lines longer. So this pretty much makes it to where it doesn't wrap automatically. This specific setting here for Python formatting in AutoPEP 8. Python language server, you do want this set to Pylance if you're using Python. Pylance is an extension that I showed here that it does come by default with Python, but it's a language server, which just means it makes your Python color coded. And if you have some argument or something that isn't being used, so if I make a file or say I'm in manage.py and I say name equals Zach, and let's see, or well, okay, so maybe not on the global level. Actually, it should work there. That's odd. If I say inside of a function or inside of a if statement, name equals Zach, and I don't use that, as you can see, it's currently dark. But as soon as I say something, like use something with this, like full name equals Zach or a name plus whatever. Now it lights up, and now this full name is not being used, so it's dark. So this helps you find code in scripts that you're not using, and it allows you to delete them. Relatively simple. And it adds a bunch of color stuff here that makes your code a lot easier to navigate typically. Let's see, default interpreter, that part's not necessarily important. So yeah, that's pretty much all of the settings. Let's see, anything else that I can think of before I end the video here? Okay, so keyboard shortcuts is something that can be pretty interesting right off the bat. So if you want to look at what these are, I'll make a little notes thing right here. So we already learned one. So to open terminal, you want to say control and backtick like this. Oh wait, yeah, let's do yeah, so control and oh well, that didn't quite work, did it? Let's see, control and I'll just write backtick here. So yeah, essentially it's control and backtick to open the terminal. By default, and this is one that I actually like to change, to go to your file explorer, which is a tab here. By default, open explorer is set to control plus shift plus E. And I've found it a lot more simple. Let's see. I don't know why these are all squished up here, but open explorer. Oh, it's because it thinks it's the same line. Yeah, there we go. Or like this would probably be, whoops. Okay, yeah, sorry about that. Let's see. So if we go here, open explorer, just like this. Yeah, so by default, it's set to here. But if you want to change this, I actually have mine set to only control E because it's a bit easier to go back and forth between your file and your code as you're writing. So like, yeah, I have some useful commands to help with this. But yep, essentially, I have mine set to control E, and the way you would want to do that is by saying, if you press Control Shift P, this opens your, I forget what this is called specifically. Command palette. That's right. Yeah, so this opens your command palette, and then you can just type in keyboard. Yeah, if you just type in keyboard, you should see somewhere here, open keyboard shortcuts. This will make it to where you can change some of your commands. So now if I type in control, like I already have mine set. So if I just say control and E, we'll see here, show explorer. This by default is the control shift E one. So I changed it to only control E, which you do by double clicking on the key binding and then pressing press desired key combination. So I'm going to press control E and yeah, it's already there. So yep, that is the simple way to set that one. Another one is, let's see, what else do I use here? So there's one that I use for control G, and I don't know the specific setting for, yeah, so go to file. I forget what this is by default, but essentially what this lets you do is whenever you're inside of your directory in VS Code, you can quickly search for a file in the files that you have open. So if I press Control G right now, and let's say in my portfolio, I have this models.py file. So if I want to find that from this notes.md, which is in my base directory here, I can press Control G and then say, just type in the file name that I'm thinking of, models.py, and it's right here. And boom, it opens up that right in the terminal, super duper quickly. Yeah, so that's nice. So yeah, so to find that, you're going to want to do use this go to file command, which I set to control G because for me it's natural like G and go. And it's a pretty easy reach on keyboards. So let's see, yeah, go to file. I would recommend setting this to control plus G. Let's see, so yeah, there's those. Yeah, so about the terminal itself as well. So there's another terminal command that I like called here, wait, let's see what this is. So Control Shift P, keyboard shortcuts. We're gonna say Control and T. And yes, so this is another optional one where if you want to you can set Control T to open terminal instead of backtick, because on most keyboards backtick is slightly, it's really not like in the best hand position to reach. So yeah, this one's pretty optional. So terminal, split terminal. Yeah, so I have it set to split terminal here, and this just makes it to where if I'm already in my terminal down here and I press Control T, you can open up more than one terminal in VS Code, and it's really convenient to, in case like one terminal is doing something, you can quickly open up this other one and get to work. So that's a nice one, and that is, let's see. So let's see what the actual thing is. So Control backtick, yeah, toggle terminal is the command here. So toggle terminal, that's going to be Control plus well, yeah, you can set it to Control T, but it is okay. Yeah, so and that's actually the command up here. So toggle terminal is this terminal, and this one is, I think, split terminal. So split terminal. I have this personally set to Control T, so you'll need to type it in this keyboard shortcuts place to access here. Now those, I believe those are the ones that I use the most. One that you also might find useful if you want to do like split screen work on your files, if you want to have more than one file open at the same time, you could say the following: Control Alt and then right arrow. And that will take your current file that you have on your, like that's currently open. It's going to put that one on the right. And if you have another file open, it'll leave this on the left. So if you want to do some split screen work, this is the way to do it. So again, that command is split editor. That's Control plus Alt plus, what was the last one? Ah, yeah, right arrow. Anything else I use a ton here? Not really. So I think besides Vim, these are probably the ones that I've used the most. Let's see, keyboard shortcuts, Control Shift A. Yeah, not really. Yeah, so I mean that's pretty much everything in a nutshell. Yeah, did I leave out anything? I don't think so. So yeah, live share, live server. Yep, I'm gonna say, one thing, if you do want to track your time in your projects while you're coding, I do recommend downloading this time tracker app. So what this does is, if you look at the bottom right of my screen down here, you'll see this inactive, total, and then current session. So this is actually a time tracker app. So if I press play on this, the current session is going to start counting up, and it's a manual timer that allows you to track time in your project. I found this useful for like if I'm building something for a client, and I want to like, I don't know, convert this eventually to however much my hourly rate is. I'll typically use this one to track time, and it'll store it as long as you remember to actually click it. So it's not automatic. There is like this code time extension for that, but it's hard to tell if that one's accurate. So this is the best one I've personally found for doing this sort of thing. And if you press pause on this, we'll see a new file that just popped up here for time tracker. You won't be able to edit this really because it's in datetime format, which I couldn't tell you what the hell that is, but essentially it's like how programming languages read this sort of stuff. So but it is human readable down at the bottom. So that's the more important part. And yeah, you'll be able to see how much time you've tracked on this project, and it's pretty useful in my opinion there. Studio, nope, nope. Yeah, if you're not already on the GitHub Copilot waiting list, I do recommend you get here. I joined it unfortunately pretty late, but some of my students have this and it's amazing. So yeah. All right, I think that pretty much concludes this tutorial. One last thing, settings. So if you go to settings, if this is a fresh kind of workspace for you, like if you're just setting up VS Code, you will see something called settings sync in this folder here. You're going to want to turn that on. Like it should be somewhere like in this top area where it'll ask you to sign into GitHub. And then once you have that signed in, you'll be able to use your same settings across even if you use another computer, all you would have to do is log into your GitHub account on that Visual Studio Code, at least on like your own user, and then it will automatically keep that, store all of your settings on that machine. So you'll be able to use your settings across platforms and or across like different devices, and it will work really well from what I found. So yeah, that should be everything, I believe. Yes, looks good. All right, cool. So thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope this was above all useful. And yeah, let's keep doing this stuff. Yeah, I really got to work on my outro. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to. That would be awesome. If not, well, thanks for watching anyway. All right, take care. Have a good day. Bye for now.